So today we're going to be looking at another aspect of God the Father, because we're going to be studying the Apostles' Creed. So the first part of God the Father, first part of the Apostles' Creed goes like, how does it go? The first part starts out with the words, I believe.
I believe in God the Father.
There you go. All right. So we're not that one yet. We're just saying, so maker of heaven and earth. So he's going to make it. He's also going to provide for everything that we've got. Okay. So quiz bowl time. First article of the Apostles' Creed is, all right, I believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, God's only Son, our Lord. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic or Christian Church. Or D, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. A is the correct answer. Exactly. So I believe in God the Father Almighty. I believe in him, number one. That's the first part. And what he did. So creator of heaven and earth. What does that include? Just curious. What do you think the creation of heaven and earth includes?
Everybody, everything.
Everybody, everything, all inclusive, right, Grace? Yep. Okay. Anything else? Gil, you were gonna say it?
Oh, I just said
People. Okay. Any other volunteer? No. Okay. Not bad. How about the universe? Nope. Did you guys get a chance to, I mentioned it last week, I'll mention it again today. There's a video out there, you can probably find it on YouTube, called Indescribable. And it's a pastor from a church down in Houston. He knows people that work at NASA. And he was able to get these images off the Hubble telescope and taking pictures deep into the into the universe. Really, really good video. And if I remember next week.
like the cross.
Yeah, the one with the cross in the middle. Hey, Holly. So I believe in God the Father, Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. Okay, the word provide comes from the Latin words meaning to prepare for, comes from the same root as providence, means to supply one's needs. I'm sensing D being all of the above. That one, they kind of didn't really disguise that one very well. Yeah, that's an all of the above. Provide. So we're going to be looking about God providing everything for us in the context of what's here on earth for us to use. What does God provide for us? Not much. Yeah, there might be some people that say that. One, morning. Food, clothing, home and family, daily work, and all that we need from day to day. Protection, or D, both B and C. We got a bunch of D's. I think that's right. In your catechisms, Luther explains it. Now Luther's words are not exactly the same words, but in this question, but Luther's words are basically the same thing. God provides for every single thing that we've got: house and home, food and clothing, family, and all that other things that God provides for us. All out of his divine mercy and goodness. I think that's coming up. Why does God preserve and provide for us? I think this is the question coming up. Just for the fun of it? Well, that would be kind of fun, absolutely. Out of guilt for letting the world fall apart the way it has? There's a whole loaded question there. Out of the kind of goodness and mercy a loving and godly parent has for his precious children, or both A and B? A wrinkle at you.
C.
Definitely, out of the kindness and goodness of his heart. And in other words, he makes sure that we've got it all. He makes sure that we have it all everything that we need. Does he make sure that we have everything that we want? Yeah. Sometimes our wants are not necessarily, good morning, Kayla. His wants are not in line with our needs. Our wants go a lot of times beyond our needs, but he makes sure that we have exactly what we need, though. And he does it all out of his love for us. What gives us life and sustains us? Exercise. Okay, exercise is good. Exercise and bran muffins, depending upon what doctor you talk to. Exercise, bran muffins, and the little purple pill Nexium. In other words, that pill, that's an old line anyway, that helps you keep from getting acid reflux. Like if it's coming back up. Not a good idea. Yuck. Well, or D, God. We think that was obvious. Yeah, exercise, bran muffins are good. For some, the pill is good, but ultimately what gives us life and sustains us definitely is God. Okay. Something God gives to sustain us on a daily basis is called school lunch. Could be. Daily bread. iPod. Okay, let me ask you this. Any of you in this room know what an iPod is? Yeah, okay. It's like an MP3 player. Is that what you're trying to say, Grace? Yeah, it stored an awful lot of music. That was before the iPhones and the iPads and everything else that came out after that. You can tell how old these questions are. Flintstone vitamins. Cool. I should be taking some sort of vitamins. I'm just too vitamin deficient. Okay, which one? B. That's right. Daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. What's that line from? Lord's Prayer. Very good. Okay, so giving up something special and giving it to God is called a bad move. Not really. A sacrifice. A waste of money. Or D, a sanctuary. B. Okay, question. Something is coming up in 3 weeks. What's coming up in 3 weeks? Actually, 2 weeks. Something coming up in 2 weeks. No, not bad. No, Lent. Lent is coming up in 2 weeks. The 5th of March is Ash Wednesday. How many of you have ever, just by raising your hands, given something up for Lent? I know your dad did.
Oh, yeah, I did.
You did also. And he's still sticking with it, by the way, which is a cool thing.
What did he say?
White thing, food made with white flour.
Oh, well, none of us do that.
Well, your dad still doesn't eat donuts. Every Tuesday morning, when we have men's group and your dad's there, he doesn't take a donut. I think that's determination, but that's also called a sacrifice. I think we already said what that was. Giving up something that we like for the sake of something, for the sake of God. So when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, that's going to be our Bible story today. It wasn't much of a sacrifice because Isaac was a teenager. I don't know about that. It wasn't much of a sacrifice because Isaac really wasn't Abraham's son. That's absolutely positively wrong. So it's not B. It wasn't much of a sacrifice because Father Abraham had 7 sons, sir. Okay. Or D, none of the above. D, definitely. So God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. What stopped him? It's called thickets.
Yeah.
It's a bush. Like you got his horns rammed in. Okay, I think we might want to have this discussion. What if God? It's a big what if. What if God did not provide the ram in the thickets? Do you think that Abraham would have gone through with it?
Yes, because he believed that God would do it.
Well, he was fixing to, and then he told.
He was going to do it. Even if the ram wasn't there, he was still going to do it because he trusted and believed in God that even though he might have sacrificed this son, he was going to have another son to replace him. because God promised he was going to have a son. So he's banking on God's promise, it doesn't matter what the outcome would have been. He's banking on God's promise. Very good. So yeah, D is really none of that. At the last moment before Abraham sacrificed, I think we answered this question. Provided a free trip to Vegas, a stay of execution through the governor of Canaan, an angel to cut Isaac free, or D, a ram caught in a nearby thicket in Isaac's place. I think we kind of got that one covered. I think that one's a D. Okay, so Colossians 1:16 and 17 tells us God created everything. God holds everything together, both A and B. And God made everything visible, but the invisible stuff of the universe is made by chance. Oh, it's going to be C. Yeah, God created everything. God still holds everything together. That's the cool thing about what God does. Even though in some people's minds, it doesn't seem like it. Because there's an awful lot of crazy stuff going on out in the world. And it doesn't seem as if God is really in control, or God doesn't want to fix things, but he does. He is, and he does. The question is are we listening to him? That's the big question. That's the question that we need to be asking ourselves. Are we listening to God? And when we listen to God, at least in our lives anyway, there won't be that much chaos and crazy. There's gonna be crazy around us, but there won't be us. Okay, so Apostles' Creed. Okay, obviously the picture in the bottom right-hand corner is the ram caught in the thicket. So what's the other one? What's the big one? What's that look like for you guys? Well,
Oh wait, is there a story about the splits the rock?
yeah, exactly. Exactly, that's what it is. So you've got God, and well, no, Abraham. But what is,
There's a fake
yeah, what's that for? What's that?
God.
Yeah, God's inside Moses, or God's with Moses. It's a really weird artistic, whoever the artist was for all of these lessons had a really weird sense of Okay. For in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers, all things have been created through him and for him. He himself is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Colossians 1:16-17. Okay. Not the Apostles' Creed, but the Nicene Creed. Okay. We say both of them, on a regular basis. What's in that passage? What's in that passage that's in the Nicene Creed? What's in that passage? What is in the Nicene Creed that's in that passage? Visible and invisible. Very good. He made everything. Okay. So God provides me with food, clothing, home, family, daily work, and all I need. What's the catch? Here comes, you are. There is no catch with God. God provides everything that we need. So if we remember one thing, every moment, second, breath, and heartbeat is provided for you by God as a gift. These gifts are given to those who say thanks and to those who don't. Which type of person will you be? So everything that we've got from God and everything else, God provides. God makes sure that we've got everything that we need. So dear God, we praise you for the wondrous offering made on behalf of the dying world, your Son. Okay. Thank you for the presence now and for revealing the power of your love and sacrifice to us. Open our minds, hearts and minds, guide us in our understanding, and give us strength to sacrifice ourselves for others, knowing you will always provide for us. All right, so moving onward and upward. Slide, change. Supposed to change slide.
Is that for you?
No, at the end, it's just kind of the beginning. Okay. There was another slide in the middle that was supposed to be connected that it took out. And it just didn't want to change. So, talked about the artwork already. Living shields. All right. Let's play around a little bit. Let's write the story. Okay, let's write up the story about someone who is overly fearful and needs extra protection. Okay, let's think of a person who is very, very scared about pretty much everything. Doesn't want to walk down a hallway, or that person's going to be, somebody's going to jump out on them, kind of thing. Okay, or doesn't want to go outside because he's afraid of mosquitoes. That kind of a person. And Juan's going, yeah, that's me. So we can tell a story about a poor child who is afraid, scared to death of everything. Right? Got that in our head. How do we help this child in his or her life? Is it a boy or a girl? Let's go with that one first. Boy? Okay. Okay, so boy is afraid. So let's be part of the skit where he's walking down the hallway in school. And as he's walking down the hallway in school, here comes the school bully. The school bully is going like, here's Mr. Fraidy Cat. And what happens when Mr. Bully sees Mr. Fraidy Cat? Mr. Bully picks on him. He goes, you're such a scaredy cat, kind of thing. You know, kind of really weird shtick like that. So here's this kid. So now we've got the bully, we got the poor kid's afraid of everything. We need a third character. Who's the third character we need? Okay, Jesus, but in our story, what does he do? What does he do? I'm sorry? Okay. So what is the third character who we're calling Jesus, obviously? What does he do in the story? Does he walk by down the other side of the aisleway while poor bully picks on this poor kid? No. I'm sorry?
He stands up.
He stands up for the kid. He gets in the bully's face and say, hey, leave this poor kid alone. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? What am I gonna do about it? And kind of stares down the bully. And usually, sometimes if you stare down a bully, the bullies back off. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. Oh, no big deal, no big deal. The bully walks away. Well, let's say we've got our Jesus character, and we've got our poor kid who's afraid of everything. What does that poor kid how's that poor kid gonna respond in our skit?
He's gonna say thank you.
He's gonna say thank you. But what else could he do? Saying thank you is good, don't get me wrong. But what I'm sorry? Yeah, you walk with. And here goes this poor kid who's now in the shadow of the other one, who's his protector, what's another word? Not protector, not one who helps him, but one who saves. The one who saves him. Now, the cool thing about this skit is you got one person who's walking behind, and then you've got all the other kids who might be on this whole wavelength of I'm afraid of something, or I'm afraid of something. And they realize that here's Jesus, in our case, really is Jesus, who comes and intervenes and protects us and saves us. What about those other kids too? They're going to start to do what? Go with them. So here's a wonderful thing, how God gives us everything, a protector, a savior. He gives us life, and he gives us a way to walk with one another. So that's, okay, if we had to describe the group that was now forming, now we got a group of people who we got Jesus as the leader of it. We got a whole bunch of people who love being in his protector's arms. What do we call that? What do we call that?
A group.
A group, yes, true. What else? The what? Begins with the letter C. CH. CHU. The church, there you go. So we've got the church. And so that's the gathering of people who are being protected and provided for by God. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you may. Just don't let the door close all the way because it stays locked. So it's kind of cool. That's very, very good. Survival skills. Okay, let's say you guys are in the woods. Okay, you're out in the woods. And you're going to go out in the woods for a couple of days. Just hang out, not do much, but just hang out. So what do you need? What do you need to hang out? Huh? Pardon me? I didn't hear what you said. Somebody said, no, I heard. No. I'm sorry? A tent, yes. You need a shelter. You need something to cover you with. A what? Food, absolutely, you need food. Lighter or fire starter because you want to cook the food, right? Wood, you need wood. You're going to need something to carry all of that. Bag, a backpack, you know. But anyway, I remember I went backpacking with a family when I was in Idaho, and we're walking down this one path, and there's this small little pond, basically. We're walking along, and another couple is walking the other way. Now, my backpack was pretty big. I had about 25, 30 pounds worth of stuff in my backpack. It was pretty hefty. But this guy, he not only had a backpack that came from like his waist to the top of his head, but about another 2 or 3 feet on top of that. Yeah, it's a pretty decent sized backpack is what it was.
Was he out there for a month?
Well, I don't know how long they were out there. I didn't ask him. But his wife wasn't carrying anything. He was carrying everything. Her stuff and his stuff. They were carrying in the woods. I remember that trip. I was in the woods for 4 days and came back out of the woods. And my wife says, take off your clothes, head into the shower now. 4 days without taking a shower. That's kind of gross and disgusting. Anyway, so we've got food, we've got shelter, we've got means by which to prepare our food. What else do we need if we're going to make a survival kit? What else do you need?
A weapon.
A weapon, that's true. Well, in one case, a rattler decides to crawl up and wants to crawl up inside the tent. You gotta make, you take care of the rattler and then you say, oh, dinner. I heard snake meat is pretty good. I've never had it, but I heard.
Cut the rattler.
You gotta cut the rattler off, you don't eat the rattler. Anyway. So that's kind of a pretty good list of what you want to do. Now, depending on how long you want to be in the woods determines how much stuff you're going to bring with you. So you need to prepare for that. So would you be wrong? Let's look at the third point right here. Would you be wrong if you only listed God as the provider of these things? Thank you, ESPN. Would you be wrong if all you did on your list wrote God? Okay, I heard a yes. What if? Okay, anybody else? What if you relied on God to provide your tent and your food, your sleeping bag? I can't forget the sleeping bag. Almost forgot the sleeping bag.
So you don't need it.
You don't need a sleeping bag. At least something to lay on instead of dirt. What if God provided all that stuff for you? All you need is God, right?
Yeah.
Well, God does provide all that stuff for you. It's called giving mom and dad a job in order to buy all the stuff that you need. You know, there's God provides. He doesn't just go, I'm going to give Tyler something. He just doesn't. Here it is. Poof! It shows up out of midair, right? God doesn't operate in that way. He can. He chooses not to, but he does provide through work and through skills and through talent. He provides everything that we need in order to take a trip or whatever. God, we know God is in the providing work, but we also know that he uses other things, other people. Like for example, you're going to make your own sleeping bag. You got a Reliance. You're going to make your own one. Okay, cool. Where are you going to get? You need material, right? Pine. Okay, you can afford pine needles are a pretty good thing to lay on. If you get it thick enough, right? Get about 4 to 6 inches worth of pine needles. That should be okay. But if you want a regular sleeping bag, then you need to have either somebody make it on your behalf or you make it yourself. One of the two. Anyway, so the word provide comes from the Latin providere, which means to prepare for. Okay, so we've kind of, let's move on from this one. Okay, so what are 1 or 2 things you don't go without, even for a single day? What don't you go without even for a day?
Water.
Your phone, water. I was waiting for somebody to say their phone. Water. Food. Oh, you're always
Shoes.
eating, right? Huh?
Shoes.
Shoes. Okay.
You don't need
Shoes. Okay, go along with shoes. You got socks. Well, you got clothes. There's certain things you just don't go without every single day. Well, what if you had a farm and you were raising sheep? Now, back in the day when Jesus was alive, and even before that, the Jewish religion said, in order to there's a connection between you and God. There's this connection between you and God called the sacrifice. For example, what was the sacrifice that God said the people were supposed to do in order for the angel of death to pass over their house? What was the sacrifice? A lamb. More specifically, the blood on the doors. Yep. Was it a male or female? Male. How old was it? 1 year old. Was it a perfect lamb? Meaning there wasn't anything wrong with it?
No.
There wasn't anything wrong with it.
No, there is.
There. Okay. It was a perfect lamb. So there's nothing wrong with it. And so a perfectly good lamb that you could, if you allowed it to grow up, you'd have wool that you can make into clothing with and all those other kind of things. But God said, I would need you to sacrifice this particular lamb. For what reason? What was the reason?
So the firstborn, I think it was titled as firstborn.
If they didn't paint the blood on the door, on the outside of the door, yes, the firstborn would die. Very good. So there was a reason for the sacrifice. That sacrifice gave life. And all the sacrifices that followed in the centuries after that, all the way up to and including the time of Jesus, all the sacrifices were intended to have a connection to my life with God. We live in an era of a sacrifice that's already been done once, and we don't have to do them ever again. What's the one sacrifice that's happened already that leads us to say, I don't have to do any more? I don't have to sacrifice anything. What is it? More specifically. Yep, Jesus. Jesus is that one-time sacrifice for all of our sins so that we don't have to sacrifice anything. In other words, God sacrificed everything for our lives, for our benefit. So that's that's really the cool thing. Okay. Visible and invisible. Now, I have this wonderful mug here. It's called the Yeti. It's got my coffee in it. And then Gracie's got her cup with her ice in it. So we see the outside of it, right? This is just like in here, by touching it, the outside's made of metal. If you look in the inside with, I've got coffee in here, so look in the inside, there's also metal on the inside. There's also something in between the two metal layers that I can't see. What it does, it keeps, for the most part, it keeps my coffee warm for about an hour, hour and a half while I'm drinking it throughout the day. But that's invisible. What's also invisible is the makeup of the paper. We'll probably go here, so the makeup of the book. I see the outside of it, the outside of the paper, but you can't see what's inside. You can't see the inside of each one of these pages. The only way you're going to see an inside of the page is put it under a microscope. And that way you can discover what's invisible. By the time of the Bible, the time of Luther, when he wrote his catechism, they didn't have a thing called microscopes. So they trusted the fact that there are things that I just that are here, I am unable to see. Hence the word invisible. And I also trust and believe the things that I cannot see, God made. How about this invisible? Can you see air? No, it's here. You need it to breathe. Can't see it, but it is here. So God made air. Also, God made the trees that make the air. You guys know the cycle of air production yet? Okay, I got a couple of nods. Okay. Trees give off oxygen, people give off carbon dioxide. Trees take in carbon dioxide and convert it to oxygen. So the trees, basically, trees and water help us breathe. Anyway, forget that. So you have these wonderful invisible traits that God gives to us, and it's all created, provided for us by God. Okay, what's in that word? Okay. A statement of faith Christians confess every week around the world. It sums up the teaching of the first 12 apostles. The apostles didn't actually write it. The apostles created Greek yeah, okay, forget about it. Apostles Creed. Yeah. Why do they always get it? Never mind. Things required for survival: food, clothing, warmth, oxygen. Not tickets to a hair bands of the 1980s concert. Starts with N and rhymes with seeds. Needs. That's right. Well, to supply a means of subsistence. From the Latin providere, which means to prepare for. Related to the word providence. Abraham said, God will blank the lamb for the burnt offering. Provide. Exactly. Okay. A name that God acknowledges, a name for God that acknowledges God as a provider of all our needs. Again, from the Latin providere, which means to prepare for. The capital of Rhode Island in New England, Narragansett Bay, population 156,804.
It's
Providence. We have to be dense, then God will keep. Yeah, well, Providence, very good. And that population was probably 10 years ago. Anyway, things you wish for. Things you would like to have, but don't necessarily need for survival. Wants. Wants a new iPod. Yeah, wants. Very good. All right. Moving right along. Again, our theme verse is, for in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers, all things have been created through him and for him. He himself is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So God is in charge of everything. God made everything, creates everything, sustains everything, builds everything. Yeah, God's it. Other key verses, we won't go through these, but just something to think about, how God provides us in Genesis 28:15, Psalm 1:1-3, Matthew 6:31-33, Galatians 5:22. Okay. We've already kind of talked about that story already. Okay, so daily bread. Where do you think this phrase comes from? Give you a hint, there's a story, there's a part of the story of God and his people after the Exodus. It looks like pita bread, looks like a tortilla. What was it called? Manna, exactly. So here's this manna. The people are grumbling and complaining. We don't have no food. We're grumbling, we're complaining because I don't have any food, or more accurately, they didn't have any food that they wanted. So all they had to do was complain and grumble and everything else like that. And they complained to Moses, and Moses, getting all bent out of shape at him, what does Moses do first? He's angry at the people. So where does he go? To whom does he go to talk about everything that's going on? He goes to God. God, these people are driving me crazy. I don't know what to do with these people. They're absolutely nuts. God said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Every morning, Monday through Friday, there's going to be something I am going to provide that will be on the ground. Okay? So Moses told them, okay, God will provide something for you. That it will be outside your tent every morning, Monday through Friday. Now, he'll give you exactly how much you need for your family. So if you got 5 people in your family, I'm going to give you enough of this for 5 people. If you've got 2 people in your family, I'm going to give you enough for 2. On Friday, I'm going to give you twice as much, because I'm not going to give it to you on Saturday. Saturday was the Sabbath, the day of rest. So all the preparation that needed to be done for Saturday was going to be done on Friday. So he gave them twice as much on Friday. So they go, okay, all right. They get up the next morning and they're looking outside the doors of their tents, and there's this, looks like for us, it looks like a tortilla, flour tortilla sitting on the ground. What's this? They go down, they pick it up, and it feels like something that's made out of flour. Okay, and so this is what we eat. We're eating this. Okay, so they come up Friday morning, there's twice as much. Oh, great, we get to eat twice as much today. Yay! They eat it all up. Then they start grumbling and complaining. Where's my stuff for Saturday? I told you, you got to make sure that stuff carries over until Saturday. Well, some of them decided, well, I'm not going to eat all of it today, so I'll hold on to it for tomorrow. That means I got more tomorrow than I did today, right? Kind of makes sense. Put it in the pantry or whatever. Well, they did that. They didn't eat all of it on let's say Monday. So Tuesday morning, they go gather up the stuff that they had before. Oh, good, I got the leftovers from yesterday. Go into the pantry, and it's disgusting. It went bad. The maggots are all over. Okay, God's telling me I can't hold it, and I can't hoard it. But the stuff he gives me twice as much on Friday, that stuff that stayed, like it didn't go rotten until Saturday, because he made sure it was there for them on Saturday too. So God provided everything. God provided everything for them. They didn't 100% understand it there for a while, but once they got the hang of it, oh, okay. But then after a couple of years, eating the same thing over and over and over again, Well, they started grumbling and complaining, but that's another part of the story. It says, okay, you guys don't like what I'm giving you. I'm providing you everything you need. Here. So the next morning, God has a big gust of wind, blows all these quail. They're like small chickens. Blows all these quail into the camp. So much they got, okay, you want something else? Here. Figure this one out. Anyway, but he does provide, still does it. Continually still does it. Okay, so let's move forward through here. Okay. Famous moments in history. God calls Abraham to sacrifice his only son Isaac. Take your son Isaac, whom you love, and go up the mountain of Moriah. Offer the sacrifice. Abraham obeyed God, took the wood, the fire, and the knife. Dad, this seems all nice, but where's the lamb for the sacrifice? God will provide. And if God doesn't, there will be no one reading this cartoon 4,000 years from now. So, wrapping up this morning, God provides everything that we need. We get all of that in that one simple phrase. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. In that is all this wonderful provision for everything that we've got. Okay, so, all right, I'll see you next door.